Like, that be the shit, and that's what make a motherfucker be wanting to get into it with y'all, because y'all ain't got no respect. What's up, bro? What's up? Hell no.
Welcome back, those of you still with us. Before we dive into the worst shootings this week, let's go over the data. This week closes out the month of July, so let's take a look at the numbers. In July, there were 3,033 recorded shootings across the country. These incidents left 1,364 people dead and 2,729 injured. That is an average of just under half a fatality per incident. A total of 124 shootings had 2 or more deaths. The single deadliest day was July 5th, when 90 people were killed and 227 were injured. Saturdays proved the most dangerous overall, while Mondays saw the fewest deaths. So even if you hate Mondays, this month, they were the safest day to be alive. Breaking it down by state, Texas ended July as the deadliest by a wide margin with 139 people killed, followed by California with 109. At the other end of the spectrum, 5 states managed to avoid a single gun death in July: Rhode Island, North Dakota, Hawaii, Utah, and Maine. Now for this week, July 28th through August 3rd, there were 661 shootings nationwide, leaving 286 people dead and 572 injured. Texas leads with 25 fatalities in 43 incidents, followed by Florida with 20 deaths in 32 incidents, and California with 18 deaths in 50 shootings. On the city level, Chicago recorded 37 shootings with 7 dead. Detroit had 16 shootings with 6 dead, and Philadelphia logged 15 incidents with 2 dead. And finally, some rare good news. Alaska, Hawaii, and Vermont reported no shootings at all this week, earning them the No Shooting Award. Honorable mentions go to Connecticut, Idaho, Maine, Minnesota, Rhode Island, South Dakota, and West Virginia, all of which had shootings, but no fatalities. Now let's begin the countdown, starting at number 10. Number 10, Lexington, Kentucky. Around 3:20 to 3:30 a.m. on Saturday, August 2nd, police were called to the Northside branch of the Lexington Public Library on Russell Cave Road. Officers found 2 men shot to death outside the building: Edward Parker, 52, and Ashim Hayanacho, 71, both of Lexington. According to testimony at a preliminary hearing, investigators say Deborah Weiss, 69, called 911 herself and admitted to the shooting. Detective Jeremy Adkins testified that surveillance video shows Weiss approach the men as they slept. Parker on the sidewalk, Henacho in the back seat of a Nissan. Weiss allegedly struck Parker first with a handheld sledgehammer and then shot him. She then used the same hammer to break Henacho's rear window before shooting him 3 times. During the incident, Weiss reportedly shot herself in the foot. She was treated at UK hospital and taken into custody without resistance. Police say Weiss confessed multiple times. In court, a detective said Weiss indicated she'd known the men from the local homeless community and believed items had been stolen from her or her son. Dispatch records noted she was told to set the gun on a bench and wait. Officers arrived to find her there. Weiss is charged with 2 counts of murder and is being held at the Fayette County Detention Center. Her bond, initially set at $1 million, was later reduced to $750,000 with electronic monitoring if posted, which frankly she won't. The case has been sent to a grand jury. Number 9, Hondo, Texas. Just after midnight on Friday, August 1st, deputies in Medina County were dispatched to the 200 block of County Road 4636 near Hondo. A 911 caller had reported suspicious activity at the home. When officers arrived around 12:40 a.m., they walked into a grim scene. 3 adults suffering from gunshot wounds and blunt force trauma. A 52-year-old man and an unidentified woman were pronounced dead on the spot. A third victim, a 59-year-old woman, was still alive and rushed to the hospital, where she remains under treatment. Authorities have not released the victims' names, pending notification of family. The suspect was quickly identified as 36-year-old Adam Hernandez. Deputies say they were able to track him down and take him into custody without further incident. He has been booked into the Medina County Jail on charges of capital murder of multiple persons and aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. Neighbors later told reporters that the house where the shooting occurred had long been a trouble spot. Gunfire wasn't unusual there, one man said, but the flood of deputies arriving with rifles that night was the moment he knew something far more serious had happened. The Medina County Sheriff's Office is continuing to investigate the motive behind the killings. Officials stress that no other suspects are being sought at this time. Number 8. Stillwater, Oklahoma. At about 1:14 a.m. on Monday, July 28th, officers were called to the 200 block of West Elm Avenue for reports of gunfire at an apartment complex near Main and Elm. Police found 3 victims inside: Vanessa Henry, 38, and Andrew Rice, 35, both of Stillwater, were pronounced dead at the scene. A third victim, Carmen Murphy, 34, also of Stillwater, had at least 1 gunshot wound and was taken to a hospital, where she was listed in stable condition. Investigators identified the suspect as Theodore DeMario McLeod, 36, of Langston, who fled before officers arrived. Later that day, Langston University police located him at a residence in Langston. As officers approached, McLeod exited a vehicle and opened fire. An officer returned fire. No injuries were reported in that exchange. Multiple agencies responded, and McLeod was taken into custody without further incident. Police have said the shooting was targeted and that McLeod knew the victims. A specific motive has not been released. Records indicate McLeod was released from prison in 2022 after serving time for robbery, possession of a firearm by a felon, and drug possession. The Stillwater case remains under active investigation, and charges will be presented to the Payne County District Attorney for review. Number 7. Detroit, Michigan. Around 4 a.m. on Monday, July 28th, a gunman opened fire inside a crowded Marathon gas station on the 3300 block of Puritan on Detroit's west side. Responding officers found 4 gunshot victims. A man in his 30s was pronounced dead at the scene. He was later identified as Martin Clay, 32, of Davison. Maria Jenkins, 34, of Highland Park, was taken to a hospital and died a short time later. 2 additional victims, a 28-year-old woman and a 39-year-old woman from Detroit, were wounded. One was treated for a torso wound, and the other for a graze injury. Investigators say the shooting began after an argument that escalated into a fight between the suspect and Clay. The suspect allegedly drew a handgun and fired multiple rounds, striking all 4 victims. Police arrested Jalen Lee Robinson, 30, of Hazel Park, later that week. Prosecutors charged him with 2 counts of first-degree murder, 2 counts of assault with intent to murder, 4 counts of felony firearm, and 1 count of possession of a firearm by a prohibited person. He was denied bond and remanded to jail pending further proceedings. Number 6. Franklin Township, Pittstown, New Jersey. Late Friday evening, August 1st, multiple 911 calls reported gunfire and screams near a home on Upper Kingtown Road in the Pittstown section of Franklin Township, Hunterdon County. By the next day, authorities confirmed a double homicide inside the residence. Lauren Semanchik, 33, a veterinarian at Long Valley Animal Hospital, and Tyler Webb, 29, a Pineweld Fire Company firefighter, were found shot to death. Media reports, citing family and law enforcement sources, identified the shooter as Ricardo Santos, a New Jersey State Police trooper and Semanchik's former boyfriend. Investigators say Santos left the scene after the killings. He was found later dead by suicide inside a vehicle at Johnson Park in Piscataway. Reports also note Santos had previously served with the New Jersey State Police Executive Protection Unit on the governor's security detail. According to the Hunterdon County Prosecutor's Office, the victims were discovered on Saturday, August 2nd. 3 separate neighbors had called in the night before about the sounds of gunfire and a woman in distress. Family members told reporters that Semanchik and Santos had dated earlier in the year and that Santos had recently been harassing her. With the suspect deceased, the case is being handled as a domestic violence murder-suicide spanning 2 crime scenes, the Pittstown home and the vehicle in Piscataway. Authorities have not announced any additional suspects. Number 5. Winston-Salem, North Carolina. At about 1:38 a.m. on Saturday, August 2nd, officers were called to the 900 block of Cameron Avenue for reports of a shooting outside a residence. They found 3 victims with gunshot wounds: Destiny Quaterio Avila, 17, Alan Lopez, 18, and Kelsey Perkins, 23, all pronounced dead at the scene. Police say a gathering was underway at the home before the gunfire. According to the homeowner, the event was a 17th birthday party held in the basement with roughly 24 attendees. As the party ended and people walked to cars parked along 10th Street, a vehicle opened fire outside the house. Investigators returned later and recovered additional shell casings from the area. The Winston-Salem Police Department Criminal Investigations Division is leading the case. Detectives have not announced arrests or a definitive motive, but say gang involvement has not been ruled out, citing connections to validated gang members. Police also noted they are assessing whether alcohol was provided to minors at the party and if charges are warranted on that front. Increased patrols have been ordered in the Cameron Avenue area as the investigation continues. Number 4. Reno, Nevada. At about 7:25 a.m. on Monday, July 28th, an active shooter opened fire in the valet area outside the Grand Sierra Resort. Investigators say the man walked in from the north side of the parking lot, produced a 9mm handgun that initially malfunctioned, cleared it, and then fired repeatedly into a group of people at the valet. 5 people were hit there. 1 died at the scene, 4 were transported, 1 of those later died, 2 remained in critical condition, and 1 was released. The gunman then moved north through the lot, exchanged fire with a resort security guard, and shot a 6th victim who was driving through the parking area, killing him in his vehicle. Responding Reno police officers confronted the suspect on the northwest side of the property. He fired at officers, striking a patrol car. Officers returned fire and shot the suspect, who was taken to a hospital. 1 officer sustained minor injuries consistent with glass fragments. Over subsequent days, authorities identified the shooter as Dakota Hoover, 26, of Reno. Police say he carried multiple magazines and fired approximately 80 rounds. He had no known connection to the victims, and a motive has not been established. Hoover died from his wounds later in the week. The 3 people killed were identified as Justin B. Agulia, 33, of Chatsworth, California, Andrew C. Canepa, 33, of Newbury Park, California, and Angel M. Martinez, 66, of the Reno Sparks area. 2 of the wounded were members of a visiting bachelor party group who had been waiting for a rideshare at the valet. Both are expected to survive. The Sparks Police Department is leading the officer-involved shooting investigation. Reno police are coordinating on the broader homicide case. Officials say there is no indication of any link between Hoover and the resort or the victims. Number 3. Anaconda, Montana. Around 10:30 a.m. on Friday, August 1st, a shooter walked into the Owl Bar in Anaconda and opened fire with a rifle, killing 4 people inside the neighborhood tavern. The victims were identified as Nancy Loretta Kelly, 64, the bartender, and patrons Daniel Edwin Bailey, 59, David Allen Leach, 70, and Tony Wayne Palm, 74, all residents of Anaconda. Investigators named the suspect as Michael Paul Brown, 45, a former United States Army soldier who lived next door to the bar and was familiar with the establishment and its regulars. Authorities warned he was armed and dangerous. Shortly after the shooting, surveillance captured him minimally clothed. Investigators later said they believed he stole a vehicle containing clothing and camping gear. The 2007 white Ford F-150 he was last seen driving was recovered, but Brown initially remained at large. A multi-agency manhunt followed, with local, state, and federal teams searching the foothills and national forest land west and southwest of Anaconda by ground and air. The Montana Attorney General announced a $7,500 reward for information, and portions of the backcountry were closed during the search. After a week on the run, Brown was arrested without incident around 2 p.m. on Friday, August 8th, near the Ranch Bar just south of Highway 1, within the existing search area. He was booked into the Butte Silver Bow Detention Center. Officials have not identified a motive for the killings. Number 2. Lake and Dyer Counties, Tennessee. At 3:11 p.m. on Tuesday, July 29th, a homeowner on Highway 20 near Tigrit in Dyer County found an infant in a car seat left in the yard. The child was unharmed and taken into care. Hours later, in neighboring Lake County, deputies discovered 4 homicide victims off Carrington Road near the Northwest Correctional Complex. James M. Wilson, 21, Adriana Williams, 20, Courtney Rose, 38, and Braden Williams, 15. 2 family vehicles, a black Dodge Charger and a white SUV, were located near the scene. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation led a multi-jurisdictional manhunt and identified Austin Robert Drummond as the suspect. Family links tied the case together. Courtney Rose was the mother of Adriana and Braden, James Wilson was the father of the infant child with Adriana, and Drummond is Rose's brother-in-law. The search spanned Lake, Dyer, and Madison counties, with a combined reward of up to $15,000 offered for information. The following week, Jackson police arrested Drummond after multiple tips, taking him into custody at 9:05 a.m. He is charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder, aggravated kidnapping, 4 counts of possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, and possession of a firearm during the commission of a dangerous felony. He is held without bond, and prosecutors have stated they intend to seek the death penalty. Investigators later arrested 3 alleged accomplices. Giovanni Thomas, 29, Tanaka Brown, 29, and Dyer Sanders, 23, were all charged with accessory after the fact to first-degree murder. Brown also faces a tampering with evidence charge. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation continues to handle the case. Number 1. Midtown Manhattan, New York. Just before 6:30 p.m. on Monday, July 28th, a gunman walked into 345 Park Avenue at East 52nd Street. This is an office tower that houses Blackstone, the NFL, KPMG, and Rudin Management. He opened fire in the lobby with an Armalite 15-style rifle. The first burst of gunfire struck people near the entrance and elevator bank as workers headed home for the day. In the lobby, 4 people were hit. New York Police Department officer Didarul Islam, 36, assigned to the 47th Precinct and working an off-duty security detail at the building, was mortally wounded and later pronounced at the hospital. 2 civilians were also killed in the lobby. They were Blackstone executive Wesley LePatner and building security officer Alain Etienne. A 5th victim, an NFL employee, was shot and survived. Officials described that person as critical but stable. The gunman then entered an elevator. A short time later, he emerged on the 33rd floor, home to Rudin Management offices, where he shot and killed Rudin associate Julia Hyman. He then killed himself with a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Police secured the skyscraper and escorted hundreds of employees out floor by floor. Investigators identified the shooter as Shane Devin Tamura, 27, of Las Vegas. Police say he drove cross-country and arrived in Manhattan that afternoon in a black BMW with Nevada plates. Surveillance images captured him approaching the building with a rifle. Inside his car, detectives recovered a rifle case, a loaded revolver, ammunition, multiple magazines, a backpack, and prescribed medications. Tamura held a Nevada concealed carry license. He had a documented mental health history. And detectives found a 3-page note in his pocket referencing chronic traumatic encephalopathy, also called CTE, and asking that his brain be studied. Based on the early timeline, officials believe Tamura intended to reach the NFL's offices on a lower floor, but took the wrong elevator bank and ended up on 33 instead. Investigators have not identified any personal connection between Tamura and the victims, and motive remains under investigation. Law enforcement continues to reconstruct Tamura's movements, examine recovered electronics and writings, and track the firearm and ammunition purchases as part of the broader homicide investigation. International bonus entry: Bangkok, Thailand. On July 28th, 5 people were killed in a shooting at the Ortor Core Market in Bangkok. 4 of the victims were security guards, and the 5th was a vendor who worked at the market. 2 other women were wounded in the gunfire and taken to hospital. The gunman, a 61-year-old former security guard at the same market, was later found dead from an apparent suicide. Police confirmed that he had long-standing disputes with the market's security staff and that the shooting was motivated by personal grievances. Authorities stressed that the attack was unrelated to the brief border conflict with Cambodia, which had fueled speculation in local media. Witnesses described chaos in the crowded market as shoppers scrambled for cover, while officers sealed off the area for hours to secure the scene. That was this week's selection from the hundreds of shootings that took place. Subscribe for weekly coverage of shootings and hope you are not next. Stay safe.